Well, from natural disasters to celebrity scandals, new prime ministers and the loss of the UK's longest-serving monarch, there is no denying that 2022 has been a huge year.
Yeah, wow, what a year. And to reflect on the good, the not-so-good news, Nine presenter Layla McKinnon, foreign correspondent Phil Lavelle and entertainment blogger Perez Hilton all join us live. Good morning. Happy New Year to you all. Let's start with Layla. We started to see a glimmer of hope with COVID restrictions lifting at the start of 2022, but drama brewed when one international star was kicked out of the country.
Oh, didn't that just light a match to the pending fire? I mean, all of the dissatisfaction, the warring amongst friends and family. You know, I had friends on the brink of divorce over vaccination. And then here comes this superstar and he just lights the whole thing up and it went boom around the world. What a story.
Speaking of tennis, we also saw a shock announcement from one of our homegrown stars, Barty. What was your reaction to her retirement?
I think that perhaps it wasn't unexpected. I was lucky enough to be there at the Barty final. It was absolutely sensational, the mood, and when she collapsed onto the ground of the court, it was just a really special moment. And I think that Barty's quite typical. She's a millennial. I think that the story here is that people now have a better work-life balance, and unless you've got that real strong drive and determination like a Federer, that this is what you want and you are prepared to travel and dedicate years of your life to this. I mean, we only get one life, so I think good on Ash. What a star.
I know, I'd love to still see her on the court though, that's for sure. Layla, we also saw the swearing in of a new Prime Minister.
Yes, I think that election was really Anthony Albanese's to lose, wasn't it? In polls since, people have still recorded their dissatisfaction with Scott Morrison. And, you know, I think perhaps it was just the frequency with which we saw him pop up. Sure, he got a tough hand with COVID, lockdowns, the pandemic. He seems to have made himself the minister of everything, although he didn't quite let us know that. But yeah, it was the coalition's to lose. The interesting thing, I think, out of that election was the emergence of the Teals. I mean, people who are fiscally perhaps more conservative, but not as socially conservative as Scott Morrison and Peter Dutton. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future with that.
Well, speaking of Prime Ministers, there was also a bit of drama overseas when Boris Johnson stepped down. Let's go to Phil Lavelle now. Tell us about that, Phil.
Yeah, you know, Jane, this is one of those situations where you say you couldn't make it up. 1 year, 3 prime ministers. OK, Prime Minister number 1, Boris Johnson, started the year. Of course, he's the guy that won this stonking majority in 2019 over the fact that he said he was going to get Brexit through. Of course, COVID happened then. He was Prime Minister. He brought in these lockdowns. These lockdowns, you know, decimated a lot of families. People couldn't say goodbye to relatives. Then it emerged that he was breaking the rules himself. He was fined, along with a number of people, at 10 Downing Street. People were locked down and there were parties taking place in Downing Street. So Boris Johnson resisted. We had investigations. We had demands for him to go. We had supporters saying he should stay. He eventually went in the summer where members of his cabinet said, look, time's up. You've got to go. But he didn't say farewell forever. He said, you know, I might be back, or at least he hinted it. Then we had a leadership contest, which came down to Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. Rishi Sunak was his chancellor. He was very much seen as the heir apparent, but in the end, it was Liz Truss that got the job. Sunak's policies were a little more fiscally conservative. Hers were not. She took the job. The pound tanked. The economy plummeted. It was a disaster. She had to sack her chancellor. She lasted 44 days, even less if you take into account things like holidays and weekends. She was out of a job. And then Sunak eventually took that place at the end of October.
Yeah, well, it's almost a year later. It still upsets me. In February, Russia invaded Ukraine, sparking a war which is still ongoing. What's the update there?
Yeah, you know, it was January, wasn't it, that we were talking about the fact there was potentially a war in place, that these military troops were building up. Putin always said that this was just a military drill. So there were no plans to invade. February, that invasion began. We had months where we saw the Russians making advances. We had months where we saw the Ukrainians making advances. Remember, at the beginning, the whole feeling was that Russia would win this, and they would win it quickly. They would just completely overpower Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky, the president, said, you know, I'm staying here. I'm not going to go to the United States. I'm going to stay put. I'm going to leave my country. And we've seen this not go the way that Russia wants. Yes, Russia has a lot more military capability, but we've seen them have to make some retractions as well.
Well, let's hope it ends soon. And finally, Phil, one of the biggest stories internationally was the passing of Queen Elizabeth II.
Yeah, a high and a low. We had that great platinum jubilee in the British summer, millions of people turning up. There were signs at that time that the Queen was getting frail. She missed one big event. She missed the state opening of Parliament in September. And then September the 8th, that terrible news that the Queen had passed, that London Bridge had fallen, which was the code name for when the operation got into place to say that the monarch had passed. We saw those two palace footmen put that notice on the gates of Buckingham Palace to tell people that the Queen had died. King Charles ascended to the throne, and now we are going to see him coronated in May of next year, along with Queen Consort Camilla.
And the Queen's legacy has been a controversial talking point of Harry and Meghan's new Netflix series.
Perez, what did you make of that?
I found it to be very boring. But before I say anything, I just want to say I have been watching the program this morning for quite some time. And to both of you and everybody working there, what a pleasure it has been to view the show today. And congratulations and thank you for the banter and what you are all doing today on a holiday, for working and doing it so well today.
Did I pay you to say that, Perez?
No, I really meant it.
Oh, thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Look, we need to talk about the biggest story in Hollywood this year, though, that slap.
Yes, thankfully it's over, but who knows? We might actually see Will Smith nominated this coming awards cycle for an Oscar and for other awards. I've moved on from that story. I will be mourning, not the slap, but I will be very sad that we're not going to have any continuation of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, because that was one of the biggest stories. Australia played a little part in that, and just the social engagement that I and everybody had through the roof. It was absolutely insane. But of course, yes, Harry and Meghan, back to them for a second. We're going to be seeing lots more of them because they have to pay the bills. That's why they did the Netflix show. That's why Prince Harry is going to be releasing his memoir in a matter of weeks. Spare is coming out. And will they go to the coronation? That remains to be seen. But we will definitely hear more from them because they live in a very expensive mega mansion in Montecito, and they have a lot of bills.
Oh, they sure do. Thank you to Layla, Phil and Perez for wrapping up the year with us. What a year 2022 was. Hopefully for most people next year will be better.
Yeah, a little.
This could be the potential deal breaker for what you do tonight. People all around the country gathering, hoping for perfect weather to ring in 2023. Let's bring in Jonathan Howe from the Bureau of Meteorology to take us through what we can expect today, tonight and tomorrow for the new year. Jonathan, good morning. Happy New Year. Talk us through the conditions around each state.
Yeah, good morning, Davina. Happy New Year to you as well. So, final day of the year, and even though we will see a couple of showers and thunderstorms across the east and the southeast, the good news is that by midnight tonight, we are expecting mostly dry and mild conditions for most Australians. So, starting off in Queensland, we will see a couple of showers and storms, especially north of Mount Mackay. In southeast Queensland, though, a few showers this morning, but we are expecting clear conditions by the afternoon. And in Brisbane, we are expecting partly cloudy and 22 degrees, and a lovely day tomorrow as well. In New South Wales, a couple of showers and storms through the east of the state and also through inland areas. If you're in Sydney, bring a brolly or a jacket to the harbour through the day. But we are expecting dry conditions by midnight in Sydney, and Canberra as well, dry conditions by the time midnight comes around. In Victoria, a couple of showers and storms around the east of the state, including Melbourne today, so could see a shower or storm in the city. But again, we are expecting clear conditions by midnight. In Hobart, clear conditions tonight and will be quite mild, temperature of 19 degrees at midnight. South Australia is probably the place to be, not a cloud in the sky. Clear conditions in Adelaide tonight, lovely 20 degrees. Very similar over in Perth in WA. Clear conditions tonight, but over the north of the state, we are seeing heavy rainfall across the Kimberley. And finally, in the Northern Territory, heavy rainfall and strong winds for Darwin. So do take care. We are expecting squally showers to continue until midnight.
So much talk about what we're going to see in 2023 weather-wise. Will we see a stable weather pattern at the very least?
Yeah, so for many Australians, very much looking forward to the end of this La Nina period. We've seen very heavy rainfall this year, but the good news for people across the East Coast is that we are expecting to see La Nina weakening off over the next month or so, which does mean a decrease in above average rainfall, and of course with that, a decrease in the risk of flooding. So just reminding Australians, whether in the north of the country or whether across the east, to keep an eye on this forecast, even heading into tomorrow and into 2023. And from everyone here at the Bureau, wishing every Australian a very happy new year.
Word is at the Bureau, Jonathan, they know how to party for New Year's Eve. Have you got big plans?
Oh, we certainly do, but we do run a 24/7 operation here. But for those unfortunately working tonight, I'm sure we'll be catching the fireworks. But I'm on shift tomorrow morning, so I'll be taking it easy tonight.
We'll welcome you to tomorrow morning too. So thank you so much for sticking by
Thanks
us.
for that.
Gavino's had a party. These weather presenters, they're a bit wild, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going straight through Davina. It's going to be a very interesting show tomorrow morning.